So today we're going to go through my Breeze Premiere Guide, and let's just dive straight into it, and we'll start with the comp we are going to play. And the comp I'm going to suggest for you all to play is this one at the top here, Viper Harbor Sky Jet KO. Now, I have put some alternatives kind of below them, as you can see just there. Yes, you are correct. I have put Omen underneath the Duelist, because for those of you who watched one of my streams, you will have known that I was seriously considering playing triple control and no duelist on this map and suggesting that to you all, but I went for a more normal kind of comp overall because I thought it'll just be easier for you all to play, and we'll take less explaining in terms of what to do. We aren't playing a Sentinel. You can play one if you want, right? You can survive. If you don't want to play KO and you prefer to play either Cypher or Chamber, I think that's absolutely fine, and you can do that. I personally, just after thinking it through for a while, just think that KO might just give you a bit more value overall, so that's the comp that we're going to be taking a look at. So we're going to start off with the attacking side, and first of all, we're going to look at some Viper attacking setups. So our first Viper setup here, we're going to do just the old classic Viper wall. I'm sure many of you have done this enough times. Just make sure there isn't enough of a gap here for them to sit behind this corner, but then just let your wall go as you probably have done a million times. And then you're going to stand here. I don't know quite why the barriers aren't up, but you're going to stand here by the right-hand side of the barrier just here. And what you're going to be aiming at is this kind of where the two walls just meet at the top just there. That's where you're going to be aiming. If I just drop the barrier here, then what we're going to do is we're just going to take a quick like one step, run forward and throw, right? And that's where the orb is going to go. So this is the setup you're going to end up with. You're going to end up with the classic Viper wall across on A, and you're going to end up with an orb here. Why have we put our orb here though? Well, the reason is quite simple. The defenders are going to spawn back here, right? So this is where they're going to start. And what you want to do basically with this orb is just secure a main control. If they are going to get aggressive, by the time this orb is up, it's probably going to be about here if they are fully sprinting towards this orb. And so they're going to have to come out here blind if they are actually going to fully run through this orb by the time you've gone and got it up. So the point is that basically you're going to come here, quickly throw this down, right? And then as soon as you can, you're going to put it up. And in that time, the hope is that you will now be in a main, and this orb will dissuade anyone from actually coming out here and challenging you, right? And the thing is, if this orb is up and they, do just let you go here, that means that then you can kind of, come and fully take a main control and even tuck in onto this side as well. Also, what this orb will do then later on in the round is create a lot of pressure with this wall combined, right? So the idea is you're going to put up this orb. If obviously there's any op here looking towards you, well, they're tough out of luck, right? And the thing is, with that wall as well, you have potential to, get very sneaky with it as well, right? Where, you might even try and sneak out onto the A site itself, where, you put both of them up. You come around, maybe you even, come around here, just check this corner, drop the orb, and all of a sudden, you're kind of out in onto the A site, and if you have full fuel, you'll be able to get, potentially all the way down here, and you're actually on the site, right? So that's the first Viper setup that you might want to throw. That's very good for A, and we'll talk about, some of the times that you might want to throw that. But that's your first one. The second one, and this one I haven't had enough time to, like, fully comprehend all of the ideas, but you're going to put a wall down here in mid, and this is going to look very, very strange, but we will explain it as we go. So you're going to put a wall like that. That's just going to come across here at the top of mid. For your orb, you're then going to come to the middle of this circle just here. So the middle of this decoration, you're going to look as far down to the ground as you can, and you're going to line yourself up in the middle just there, right? And then what you are going to be aiming at is, you see like this plant here, right? If you then go from where this plant kind of meets the wall and you go, okay, there's one line, right? So there's one line across on the bricks, and there's the second line. We're going to be aiming at this second line of the bricks just here, right? So that's what we're aiming for, is just this second line here of the bricks, and then get your orb out. Go obviously slightly to the right so that you don't hit the wall, and then just a jumping left click throw, and what you will get is an orb that comes and lands here in nest. And together, what this setup is going to do is it's going to give you control of mid, right? Anyone here in mid from the defenders now sees nothing, right? And that's the point of this setup. And then combined with some other utility that we're going to use, hopefully we can then, clear all of mid. So this is our second setup. So let's start off with our A default then, and so the goal of this A default is just to come and take control of A main. So what we're going to have is going to have our Viper, KO, and Jet here over towards A, and if you want to do an A default, you're probably going to go with the first Viper setup that I showed you, with the wall here across the A site, and the orb just here as well, kind of towards the back of A main. And you can just very, very simply throw a KO knife towards the back of this, right? Very simple, start of the round, just throw a KO knife here, and that's going to just secure all of this space and just means that you have very good control of this kind of area. If you then do come and take this area, you then can come and take this ult orb. What's going on in the rest of the map is you probably just want your harbor just sitting pretty passive here, right? You're completely on your own, so just sit pretty passive if you're the harbor here over towards B, and your sky as well, pretty passive towards mid. You might want to just send out like an early flash just here, just to check if anyone's getting aggressive towards you in mid, but other than that, you can just kind of chill as you take control of A main, and then obviously decide what to do from there. In terms of any B main default, I mean, this is not normally an area where defenders are too aggressive a lot of the time, just because you can obviously punish them with this kind of, you know, double kind of push here to kind of... In terms of a B main default, this is not an area where defenders are going to get super aggressive a lot of the time, just because you can swing them from multiple angles, right? So you're probably not expecting anyone to be super pushed up, but if they do, you know, you can very simply probably just send Harbor Sky Jet here. You know, you can send a flash around the score if you need to. If you feel like it's necessary, you could send a Harbor Cascade in here as well, right? And if you are doing a kind of B default, this will probably just be to take this orb again, in which case you might want the Cascade just there, you know, and again, just with this bit of utility here, you should be able to secure it. Maybe have your KO in mid. Again, he can just send a knife, you know, kind of towards there, or even be with the Viper here towards A, where you know, try and take control of both mains here if you want to. That is a possibility for you if you want. You just have to be very careful that, you know, someone isn't set up here in mid, you know, kind of waiting for you to cross and die there. So just be wary of that. But yeah, either of those is absolutely fine to kind of do and just take control of B. And now let's do a mid default, and for this one we're presuming that our Viper stuff is over towards A again, so we're going to start with Harbor here. You're over towards B, kind of, you know, just tucked in by this wall just here, and you're just going to aim to get your Harbor wall on those two angles just there, right? So you're just going to send the Harbor wall across. It'll end up looking, you know, something like this just here, and this will be your Harbor wall for your kind of mid default, just going off this and nest. And then what you can do is you can pair that with a sky flash, right? So if you just come and hug the tight wall so that, you know, someone running full swinging there, you know, doesn't come and get you, but just send a flash like this, right? And just activate it as late as you can, kind of up here. The point of this is with that wall, you know, going across like this, if this flash does catch someone, most likely what that means is that, you know, someone is trying to get pushed up, and then obviously you can react to the fact that this flash has caught someone who, you know, might be out here trying to duel you in mid, or even trying to push down in towards elbow. Now, what you could do is just throw a KO knife in towards the mid doors as well. If someone does try and fight you still there, you know, they're suppressed, and there is 3 of you here, so, you know, hopefully you can at least go 1 for 1 in that fight. If someone does try and fight you just there in towards mid from double doors, but if not, and you want to cross, you know, kind of up towards the top side of mid here, you can just very quickly throw down a jet smoke and, you know, use that to kind of cross across here, you know, using the wall then to kind of get deeper in towards mid. But when we go from mid default with our Viper setup towards mid, this is probably what it looks like, where, again, we just got our KO towards A, can just throw this knife, probably then just start to retreat, right, based off, you know, the information that they get, or maybe you even take the space if it doesn't, you know, suppress anyone. You can just go for this similar sort of sky flash up here. Your Viper obviously will have thrown the orb from this point, so you can then, you know, wait for this setup to get up, and then the sky can flash just in here towards mid again. Again, you want to put up this wall and orb kind of as quickly as you can. This orb does land fairly quickly, but then again, just an early flash in there. You can send a Harbor Cascade over towards the mid doors, and again, just start to explore this area, you know, up towards mid. As you go through it, you might even want someone to, you know, come back and just check that no one is wrapping around you back here. Kind of, you know, as you start to scale up, maybe if you do go up towards mid, just get someone to make sure that there isn't, you know, anyone kind of coming behind you there. Now let's just quickly show you a default kind of towards the elbow side of mid here, and what you probably want is something like this, where your KO can be on A if you want and throw that early knife, doesn't have to, can come back here as well. If you feel you're playing a bit more of a passive team in general, you know, can come and throw this knife to support the Harbor instead. Then what you can do is put up the Viper setup just here, right, send a Harbor Cascade out towards mid just there, and you can sky flash through this wall just around here, kind of, you know, through this way, so you're sky flashing kind of, you know, like this, out in here, same kind of idea. It's going to clear this area, seeing if anyone's getting aggressive just in there. And then obviously you could start to scale up with that flash, and depending on what's happening, your Viper can now just stay and, you know, just kind of wait to see if anyone's being aggressive. You don't need to go and fully support the team there. You know, you can just kind of wait and see if anyone's being aggressive the other way. And then, you know, from here, you're hoping to, you know, get past this wall. Your harbor can start scaling up, and your harbor can send a second cascade potentially up here, you know, kind of towards nest again, you know, then maybe drop down and, you know, fully have kind of mid secured in a position where you end up like this. Now, in terms of what to do from there in a default, obviously that's where your IGLing comes in. That's kind of up to you. I mean, there's a lot of different scenarios that I could go through, but it'll take forever, so I'm not going to. But, you know, you can use the tools of one default and then, you know, kind of do the same things, but on the other side of the map, right? Let's say we do our A default, right? We get our Viper set up in towards A. We then come back. We want to then do our A default, right? So we send in, you know, our harbor wall across like this, right? And do the harbor wall. Our harbor was already towards B. We've got our sky here already. Maybe they send a flash here or whatever, right? Just to check what's going on. And then we decide, okay, we want to do an A split, right? And so, you know, then our KO maybe goes back to A. Our harbor comes here, and then we're getting ready for our A split. And so now I'm going to go in to what our execs look like. We're going to start with our full 5-man A exec. We're going to assume that our Viper setup is here towards A if you want to do this. And, you know, you're going to come and take A main control to start. You might throw this KO knife just early on again, you know, just to get some of that early information and just to push people back early on. And with this KO knife, you can, you know, if you haven't thrown it and you have just taken the control anyway and just walked up, you know, then obviously you can just use it on the site as a part of your exec. But let's assume that you have used it and now you're gearing up to do this 5-man exec. So for harbor here, I'm going to make it as simple as I possibly can. You're literally just going to go in a straight line from this. You don't even have to do anything. Anyone can do this, right? And I am going to try and keep this simple for you, where you could just send the wall out like that and then just go, right? And just do this and out you go. And this wall will be, you know, more than enough. It'll be fine, and will be a nice wall for taking quite a bit of space, more so than your Viper wall. So you've got the harbor wall there. For Sky, it's going to be very simple. You're just going to be by the blocks here, and you're just going to sky dog out. Now, you've got your orb here, don't remember. What I would suggest is probably use the dog, come left first, and then come back around, check right, and you should be able to get down to the bottom. I'll show you that now. So here's the dog. You're just going to be standing here. You're going to come out of the orb, come left first, check round the orb, check that, and then you should have enough time to kind of clear all of this back sight and see if there is anyone down here. Now for Jet, obviously you can just follow the dog in on towards the site. You should be able to get a bit deeper than you normally would, because remember, we have this Viper orb that we are putting up here to kind of start this exec. The dog will run into the orb first, so hopefully we'll see anyone who is inside it, and then you can go inside of it, you know, just activate your dash, obviously, you know, send down a smoke, dash in, you know, maybe check this close right corner just here for everyone, and then you should be there. And again, hopefully by the time, you know, you've kind of got here, the dog is just jumping around this corner to allow you to kill anyone in that corner, and then kind of, you know, get ready to scale up. Now for KO here, you have a couple options depending on the kind of the information that you've got, right? If, for instance, the dog gets killed by someone close, right? You could obviously just right click through the orb and then kill them, right? That's always an option. Or if you know that someone is back there, right? For what they started shooting at you, you know, just before you started the exec or whatever, you know, you could just send a flash for your Jet to kind of get down to the back site, you know, with just something like that. If there's no one there, or, you know, even if there's someone in this close corner as well, obviously you could throw a KO nade at them as well to clear that corner. If there's no one there and you are just, you know, running in onto the site and the Viper wall is up here, then what you can do for your Jet is probably get about, you know, into roughly this area here, and you're just gonna left click, bounce a flash off that wall, you know, send it past the Viper wall just here for your Jet to then swing through, as this flash, you know, kind of lands out here and will flash anyone in kind of that space, or the space in between the two walls. And so it'll end up looking something like this. And then of course you can then use maybe a sky flash to come through this way as well, if people want to kind of, you know, come this way through the wall or even through the middle pillar here. And what this means is then obviously your Viper can kind of drop that wall, and you'll essentially have all of the space up to the harbor wall. You're looking to clear all of this kind of stuff out just here and take all of this space, and hopefully take the A site, and then, you know, plant the spike and go and play a post plant. If we wanted to go for a kind of A split here, let's assume we've taken control of A main. That could have been, you know, with the help of KO here. It could also be with the help of the Sky here as well. You send out a flash just kind of in towards, you know, kind of deeper in A main here. It flashes them, you know, that's going to stop them from being too aggressive. Then the orb can go up and you should be fine. So either is fine for the Sky or the KO. But what we're going to do is we're going to scan the Sky back towards A main, who might have already been there if we are doing this flash. And we're going to send our Harbor in towards mid here with the KO and the Jet. Now for this, we're going to assume that you have gotten kind of up to this point and you are looking towards the doors in this kind of position, ready to do an A-split. So for Harbor in this A-split, obviously you're just going to wall across here, and really you can aim either towards kind of, anywhere on this back wall just here, it will be fine. Just sending in a wall, anything kind of like that is going to be absolutely fine. And then when you get towards the doors, it also could be a bit handy to just send the cascade out towards the back of here, just because there might be people back there, and this cascade is just going to help you all, just maybe get out a bit as you're scaling up with it, right? And then you're going to end up with something like this, and hopefully then, you can go from there and, take the site. For KO here, you can very simply just bounce a flash off that, right? And just flash anyone kind of close who's maybe playing, close towards the doors or whatever. Obviously, if you do have a KO knife, it could be useful to just, check if anyone is close, if you do have that option available to you. But, just any flash in there as you're getting ready to come in will be absolutely fine. If you need to as well, just a little right-click flash around the corner is also absolutely fine. And for Jet, again, very, very simple. You might not even fully need your dash for this one, but, if you want to dash, that's absolutely fine. Come out here. Obviously, ideally, again, that cascade will just be covering these first couple steps. Obviously, you're checking this close corner with the KO flash just in here. And as I said, if this cascade is now coming up, hopefully that's covering your first couple steps. So then, well, I didn't mean to do that, but, come in here and just quickly dash into this corner and, kill anyone there, and happy days. And then for Sky, what you're going to do is very simple. You're just going to come out here, again, check this close corner, with the Viper orb up, and again, just kind of do the same dog coming towards the back side there to clear this right-hand side for Viper. And for Viper, you'll just be scaling up with the dog, obviously trying to kill anyone kind of on the other side. And eventually you'll end up, hopefully, in a spot, kind of like this, where eventually, you've got this harbor wall down here. These guys have started to come in. You've now got your Viper kind of deep by this wall just here, right? The Sky is now coming in this way. And, you should be able to take the whole site. And even if there are people, hanging around back here or whatever, you're now really putting a lot of pressure on them to hopefully get that kill. Now let's do our B Exec, and for our Viper here, it doesn't matter what setup we've done really, because your Viper is probably going to be the lurk, whether that be, you've done the other setup and it's going to be a lurk up through the top of towards mid, or it could be that you've done this A setup and you're going to lurk, kind of towards the bottom of mid just here and come this way, or even, go through the whole A site if you think you've got time enough for that as well. So, your Viper's going to be probably the lurk in most scenarios. Again, if you're on an eco, you can obviously just go for a B hit, a straight B Exec if you want to, and that's absolutely fine. For Harbor here, as a part of your B Exec, you're just going to, again, I'm going to keep it very, very simple for you. Just a straight line wall, right? Don't have to think about it too much. And then I want you to come and throw a cove down here if possible, right? So just in kind of the choke point just there, just something like this, just to cover the choke point, cover the spam, and just allow your team to kind of, again, get in and get, because sometimes this can be just an absolute pain, when you're coming through here and you're just getting spammed. So this cove is just going to help your team get out onto the site. And one thing that this cove can help as well is with your Jet getting all the way up here, into kind of towards the cove and dashing on top of this kind of little tower here, because this is very strong if you can do it, right? Because now when you're up here, you're now looking down, on anyone playing an elbow just here, and combined with other utility as well, if you can time this right, this can be really, really nice, and you'll end up looking a bit like DRX. If you can't do that though, don't worry, right? Again, you can just go for a normal smoke and kind of dash down here, and then, that is perfectly fine as well, as your Jet continues now to scale down towards the back site. For KO here, a very simple but good KO knife you can potentially do is just one that kind of goes towards this box just here on the middle of the site, kind of just as soon as you can, like on the left-hand side of this brick. And then obviously the cove will be here, right? So you're coving up, and then so you could just send a flash through it, right? Little right-hand click flash through it is absolutely fine. You can also help set up your Jet by basically just running and sending a flash at this thing here, right? That flash, as you just saw, kind of lands just in here. So hopefully that will beat your Jet smoke, right? Your Jet smoke is aiming around there if they aren't going up the top. So again, that's just like a quick running left click throw. It's going to end up about here, and whether they're up on the top just here or, dashing down here, either should be fine for them come out of the smoke and destroy anyone who's there. For Sky, you're just going to be on dog duty, and whilst your KO knife and KO flashes and Jet are going to be clearing kind of, the kind of elbow backside of B here, you're going to be clearing kind of the rest, right? So you're going to be coming here, checking any close corners just around here, and maybe coming even towards the back and telling your Jet, what's going on back here in case there is anyone there, right? That's going to be your job as the dog to basically just clear everything else out. And so there is your B Exec in full. Again, hopefully that is enough to take this site. For our B split, our ideal is to get into a kind of situation like this, where we got our Viper and Skye over here towards B main, and you got your Harbor, Jet, and KO here. I've gone for the mid Viper setup here, which you might want to do if you're ever doing a B split, just because your Viper is already over towards B. This wall obviously is covering off this. This orb is good for nest and, you know, kind of crossing across. You know, it's not necessary, as you'll see in a second, but, you know, every little helps. So for Harbor in our B split, what we can actually do, again, this is why having this wall here can be nice, because it allows us to actually get into this corner, right? The Viper wall is up, and now we're ready to do our Exec, and I'm going to Harbor wall across here, and then try and get it towards the back of the site just there as well. So, you know, something just like this is absolutely fine, right? We're walling off that, and we're walling off the back of site there. That's perfectly fine. And as a Harbor, you can actually come and stay back here, right? That's part of the plan here, really, is that you can stay, be tucked in towards this box, or, you know, be even back here and just checking down here, because no one is ever checking this, right? No, whether they're coming on a flank, you know, back through this way towards mid, or whether they're dropping down from nest, who the hell is checking out here? Absolutely no one. This is free kills, so, you know, this can be a nice little spot to do that wall from, and then actually just chill back here. Now, as the Jet here, one thing that can be nice is actually just using one of your smokes there as you're getting ready to then, you know, dash in, you know, something like this, and now obviously you're ready to kill anyone on sight. For KO here, you can just throw a knife in towards the kind of back site, or on either of these towers is absolutely fine, just to clear some of these corners. And then you're just going to go and help you support your Jet. You could send a kind of deep flash just across there, right, as your Jet is kind of dashed out here and will be, you know, scaling across here. Just any kind of flash is absolutely fine. Also, sending nades down here to anyone who could be playing, you know, kind of towards the back of site is going to be pretty useful as well. And for Skye here, we're just on dog duty, and we're checking this close corner, and then we're checking back here, right? This is where people will most likely be if you are doing a B split. So that is where you want the dog to go, right? You want it to very quickly just check right, and then you want to be just sending it all the way down here. And the idea is that someone probably will be in there. You know, you want to get them stunned, and then hopefully between your Viper and Jet, you'll kill them. And so this is what it's going to look like. And for your Viper, the idea is that, again, they most likely will be in here. And they might get suppressed here by the KO knife. They probably, hopefully, will get hit by the dog. And the idea is that, you know, hopefully the timing is correct here for your Viper and Jet to basically just pinch on this from two sides to a stunned, suppressed enemy. And, you know, they just have no way out, and you get a free kill. Now let's talk about Postplants, and obviously Postplants come in all shapes and sizes, so I can't really talk too much about them in general, but for this B Postplant, one place you're going to be playing a lot is Arnie. I'm going to call this Arnie from now on, because on the map it says be back. So this is Arnie from now on, and you're going to be playing towards Arnie a lot, right? This is going to be kind of a crucial place for you to play towards Arnie. Another place that you're going to be playing a lot is here towards Window. Now this is maybe a surprise to some of you, but if you have been lurking in towards mid or whatever as the spike is getting planted on B, you probably want to, you know, take some time to check if anyone comes, you know, kind of through mid doors and punish them. But then if they don't, get back here to Window. This is such an important area of the map because it's really hard to deal with as the defenders when you're trying to retake, right? It's super hard to get out because as the defenders, you might come down here and elbow, and you might pinch on these players who are playing in here. But if you're going to run all the way to come and kill this guy in Window, you're going to be too far away from the spike. It's going to take too much time. Right? Like, that's going to take too much time. So often you're going to be here in Window with view of the spike. You can punish people coming from this way as well. This is a really strong position to play from, and, you know, is one that you should be playing from in these B Postplants. Now, these A Postplants have changed quite a bit as well, because no longer can you just sit here in main with 5 players, right? You used to be able to do it because it was so big, and you could play back here in cave and all just see the spike, and ha ha ha, we win, right? Now, I don't think that's going to be nearly as strong because it's just going to be very congested in here, right? And any bit of util that comes into some of these areas, you're just going to get destroyed. So you can't really afford to do that. So what I would suggest in an A Postplant, and as I've shown you, you know, we are going to be doing a deeper harbor wall here on the site, right? That's to try and take a bit more space. That's to try and get kills deeper in onto the site. That's to potentially try and fight some of these areas, right? Because we don't just want to sit back here, right? 3v3, yeah, you can probably do it, but 5v5, probably not. So I wouldn't suggest just all retreating into here. I would suggest, you know, actually trying to take the fight to them a bit and, you know, getting a bit aggressive and trying to kill people, you know, kind of in this kind of area here, kind of, you know, towards Yell and towards the stairs. You know, that's where you want to be taking some of these gunfights. Also, obviously, wrapping back around, you know, from A main towards mid, you know, and coming back this way, also going to be a decent idea as well, that you should probably be going with. And lurks, you know, just in here towards mid, again, cutting off any crosses from there, also going to be quite useful. In terms of ults for this comp as well, there really isn't much to say. Seekers, use them when you feel is necessary, right? Jet knives, use them. KO ult, use it to take a site, right? Harbor ult, use it to take a site or in a postplant, right? Like either site is going to be fine. Particularly this B site I think is pretty good, but on A it's not bad either, right? Use it to take a site. Viper's Pit, use it to win a postplant, right? The ults aren't like too complex to use, so hopefully you can figure that out yourself. And yeah, that's the attacking side. Okay, let's come to the defensive side, and like we did with the attack, let's start with some Viper setups. And the first one here, we're just going to put our wall, as long as it goes through kind of these 3 points, don't worry about it too much, you know, where you actually start it from. I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference, but do it from wherever you want. And again, all you want to do is just cut through these points here, just to get a wall that looks anything like that. Honestly, it's fine. Again, it's going to allow you to kind of hold on to this kind of backside here. You know, you might do it so that you can just, you know, kind of stay here, kind of crouch by the wall, whatever it is. That's going to be absolutely fine. And then for your Viper Orb, you're just going to want to come and put it kind of, you know, anywhere in here is kind of fine. The idea of this orb is that it's going to allow you to survive on site and move around and potentially even, you know, get in towards this corner just here, right? And just tuck in there and then maybe, you know, be able to escape from that position as well, right? So things like that. This little setup will be a nice little setup for the B site. The second setup we're going to do here is a wall like this that just goes kind of straight across like so. We can just come and put our orb in the choke point. That's absolutely fine just there. And the idea behind this setup is the retake setup. And what we're going to do is on the site, we're probably going to play what I'll call a fighting retreat where, you know, we're going to put the orb up. We might spam some bullets into it. You know, might put a snake bite down, but we're never dying on the site because we want to use this wall, right? And the idea behind this wall, as I said, is that people are going to be using Arnie a lot in their attacking post plants. Well, this wall basically says, yeah, good luck with that. Because this wall is going to allow us to clear basically everything else on the site. And then, you know, by the time we get here and the wall is going down, we're literally right on top of them, right? You might even Rambo jump through like I just did there, right? And, you know, you're going to come and clear this out and they can't see anything. They can't gain any information unless they're peeking ahead of a Viper wall. Okay, for a Viper setup, what you're going to do is you're going to come and stand by this pole just here and see this light on the wall just kind of there. What you're going to do is just put your wall on that light, basically, is what I would say. Now, this wall isn't perfect, but it will do enough of a job. And for your orb, you can either come and put it, you know, just down here again, kind of as a little survival orb, or you can come and do a one-way here in towards the mid doors as well. What you're going to do for the one-way is you're going to aim, just kind of see where these two different colored tiles meet each other. Basically just aim at that and then just go ever so slightly up and you will get a one-way just here towards mid as well if you want to. So that's a nice little one-way for mid. And this wall, what this wall is going to do is, again, it's not perfect. You can't find, or at least I couldn't find a way of kind of lining it all up. So there's going to be tiny little gaps for your opponent to see, like just little slithers through, but it's not going to be enough to where it's a big deal a lot of the time. You can play in this corner, this little cubby that you've kind of created for yourself if you want to, and you know, you can come and use this wall, you know, to come and get aggressive in here if you want to as well, right? And just play a bit more aggressively in main and have this wall cut off the choke point as well. Now as KO, you're going to be playing towards the kind of mid doors here pretty much every round, or most rounds at the very least. And you're going to do that for two knives. One is just sending, I mean, just literally any knife that comes over towards here is absolutely fine. Right, literally anything that hits anywhere over towards here is going to cover all of B for you. You don't have to be that precise with it. Just literally hit anywhere on this back wall from kind of the mid doors and you'll be absolutely fine, right? So just literally anything over there is perfectly fine, right? The other one you're going to do, though, is from up top on here. And you're going to do this from the top of the stairs, kind of towards the corner just here. And you see where this kind of, like, you got this big tower here, and you got this kind of, like, plant just there. Just aim kind of towards the plant, and just do a little jumping throw just there. And this one will come and land on this for you. Now, this... Again, I'll just zoom out so you can kind of see it, is going to cover kind of all of A, right? And remembering that the attackers start here towards the barrier, and the fact that this knife takes just a little bit of time to get there means that, you know, it will probably catch people coming in towards A if they are wanting to do that. So that's a nice little knife for you as well for KO. And you'll be throwing one of those two knives probably at the start of most rounds from this kind of position. And then what's good about this is, you know, if you throw this knife or if you throw the one from up here, what you can then do is open the door. right? And opening the door will be great for allowing you to, you know, rotate through here freely and just being a bit quicker for anyone rotating maybe back towards A. They can come this way and be a threat straight away from this open position. Okay, let's start off with our first defensive setup then. And for this one, I put the KO knife towards A. You could put it towards B if you want to as well. We've got 3 players towards mid, our Viper setup over towards B just there, and we've gone for a Harbor here towards A. You could cascade this if you wanted to with the Harbor early on. The idea of this setup is just kind of just a normal default kind of setup here. There's not too much going on. You don't have to do this cascade if you're Harbor. You could just be playing back here if you wanted to and playing a bit more passive. Obviously, if you do this knife towards A, you know, and it sees no one, then maybe you could push up. If it sees 5 people, maybe, you know, push back. Your KO can come and open the door, but, you know, could just come and join Jet here in mid. Your Sky here can flash either down towards Elbow just here if they want, or send one, you know, kind of high and up, you know, towards kind of the top of mid out here if they want as well. And this is one way, again, you're just going to be looking for information in terms of, you know, just a nice default setup in terms of, you know, figuring out what you need to do. Now, our second setup is going to be a heavy A main setup. So instead of playing by the stairs, your KO is actually going to be here towards A main to begin. Or you might just throw a KO knife, something like that, to start off here, you know, and just send a KO knife up there to suppress anyone. Obviously, if you see someone, you might then, you know, throw this kind of flash just like that. Anything like that is absolutely fine. Again, you might send out this Harbor Cascade as well, just towards kind of cutting off towards the back of A main there. This could be a great setup if you have a Jet op here and want to get this Jet set up with an op, you know, just staring down in towards A main here, you know, and just getting on this line, and then you can then just leave the Jet. Now, on the other side of the map, again, we just got our Sky potentially looking for information. You might come here and B main, you might flash out, you know, kind of this way if you wanted to. You might, again, just flash out towards Elbow if you wanted to. Either one is absolutely fine. And your Viper setup as well could be either. It could be this one if you feel like you can hold on to the site. You could use this setup to do one of the retake walls as well if you wanted to. That would be absolutely fine as well, because of course you are more heavily committing to A main. So if they do come for a fast B push, you know, it might be a bit tricky to hold the site. But once we've got our op here on this line in A main, then we can start probably to, you know, rotate if we feel it's necessary as well. Just leaving the Harbor here, opening the door for the KO, potentially coming back into this kind of position where your KO can then freely go between the two sides based off what is happening just here. So your KO might be in this kind of area, just going between both, you know, once you've got kind of your Jet set up there, and now you're just looking again for that information in terms of where you need to rotate and what you're going to do. And obviously, the beauty of the first two setups that I've shown you is that they can look very similar to the opponents, right? In one, we had 3 players here up and getting aggressive. But again, you can throw a KO knife from back here that also suppresses towards A. That your opponents will probably feel like is a similar sort of idea where, you know, you're fighting for A main. But in this version, if you send this cascade and knife here, there could be no one there. And actually, you know, you're fighting in mid. Or there could be 3 people ready to fight behind it. Okay, our next setup here is going to be an aggressive mid setup. What we can do is actually just have our Harbor towards A here and just wall off towards mid, something like this, you know, and then Harbor is just going to, again, deal with kind of towards A and, you know, just be doing cascades if needed, if feel like that's necessary, right? So you might end up with something that looks like this for your Harbor. But what we're going to do instead is we're actually going to get aggressive in mid here with 4 players. We're going to do the retake Viper setup, right? And we're actually going to start off with the KO knife in towards B that gives us this info here. So we know if maybe a full B hit is coming. The idea of this is behind this KO knife, if this doesn't see anyone whatsoever, we know we can just fully focus on this side, right? And that also might inform your Harbor that they might need to cascade early towards A main as well, if necessary. If these sees, you know, 5 people, we know, okay, maybe, you know, there isn't as much here towards mid, and, you know, our Harbor is probably safe on A, and we can focus more towards Elbow instead. So this KO knife is giving us great information in terms of what we need for this round and what our reaction is going to be next based off of this KO knife, right? And the idea is very simple, to be honest. Again, we could send a Sky Flash early on in the round, you know, from back here, you know, early out here, just towards this, with the wall going up as well. You know, that should kind of blind anyone here, allow these guys to kind of swing off after we've thrown this KO knife, and, you know, we can just go off the information of this KO knife, go off the fight that's happening here with this Harbor wall as well, and just completely own this mid space. And then, you know, if they do go fast towards B, you know, we still own a lot of space and we have a retake set up there. And if they do come towards A, we've still got a Harbor here and people ready to support as well. Okay, for our next setup, we're going to have our Viper over towards A, doing the A setup I showed you with either of the two orbs that you want to do. Your KO is going to throw the knife in towards B, and the idea of this one is we're going to get aggressive down here in towards elbow and in toward these players on B. Could be with an op, could just be with a rifle if we want as well. Our Sky and Jet are going to go together. What we can do is Harbor Cascade down here from the B site and, you know, just stop a wall, something like that, right? As these guys are scaling down here, again, we might want to send an early flash with this wall, kind of just behind it, just in here. Obviously, we got the KO knife to give us that initial information of how many people are there. You might want to decide, like, oh, there's 5 people there. Let's abort the plan. Let's not swing into 5 people. Oh, there's 1 person there. Like, oh, okay, let's, you know, try and find that kill, right? So again, this could be with an op and just setting it up here. If that's what you want to do, that's absolutely fine. And getting the op set up there, you might not need that Harbor Cascade if that is the case, if it is an op setup. So your Jet maybe gets in here with an op, and then your Sky can just, you know, with the KO, obviously deal kind of with mid and this kind of crossfire just in here. And then your Harbor can probably honestly rotate and, you know, leave the Jet here, assuming that you've cleared out that, you know, there is no one here already. You know, then your Harbor can probably just leave and, you know, come and help in the mid support. Then finally, let's go for an aggressive B main setup. For this one, what we probably could do is send out a cascade towards this door just here, right? Again, this could be with a Jet op, could be with just a rifle, where you might dog out early in the round here with the Sky over towards B. So you got your Sky, Harbor, and Jet towards B. You get aggressive out here, and you know, you try and fight anyone in here towards B main. Again, you can send the KO knife here to suppress them as well towards B, right across the map just there. And over towards A, we've actually got just a full kind of retake setup again, where you've got your Viper wall, you know, just coming across the site just there with this orb deeper in onto the site as well. And again, if they just come fast towards A, you just say, okay, whatever, we're chilling, don't mind, right? You've got the wall for any kind of retake that you want to do, and you know, you're feeling pretty good about your situation. You're trying to get aggressive here and B, kill anyone off there. You've got the Harbor Cascade towards the kind of window area, and yeah, you're just going to go fighting it out, probably with an early dog here, get very aggressive in here, and hope to deal with anyone there. So these are just some setups that you can do for this defensive side as well. Now let's talk about retakes. Okay, as I said with Postplants, retakes are going to be much the same, where they can come in all shapes and sizes, so I don't have kind of definitive things to say, depending on what's happened. But let's say we're retaking this B site. If they have just done a full B main exec, as I said, util kind of towards Arnie, as I'm calling it, will be important. But also, one thing that can be very, very good for these B retakes is coming down through here, right? Like coming down and getting aggressive in this situation. This is why I said to play kind of towards window on the attacking side. Most players that you play against won't be doing that, right? So you will be able to take fights in here. You will be able to get fights and kill people in this situation. And this is going to be a very, very effective way of dealing with this, and also dealing with the kind of Arnie situation as well, because now if you're coming from this way and, you know, kind of from the normal way, right, you're now pinching on these people in here, right? Now they aren't just looking kind of one way, they're having to deal with multiple directions, that you could come from this side or you could come from the back side as well. For any A retakes, obviously this is why opening the door can be nice, because it just means that, you know, as soon as you cross this corner on a rotate, you're already in the fight now, right? Like you can already see some angles where people might be, and it's just going to help you and just be an annoying angle to deal with as well. Now, when it comes to this A retake, it really depends on what your opponent is doing, right? If they are like a heavy fighting team and they are fighting this out, right, and trying to get aggressive and trying to kill you back here, that's going to be a bit more tricky to deal with, I'll be honest, because I suspect that a lot of people will play this A post plant wrong and try and play it like it used to be and cower back here and, you know, just kind of sit back here, and that's going to make it pretty easy on you. Now, the thing is, this is a very big map, so you need to be fast with those rotations, and you also need to, if your opponent is cowering back in towards shop, know that, okay, we need to like run down here, right? Like we need to just absolutely sprint it down here, and then absolutely bombard shop with utility, right? Just absolutely spam utility in there, clear this out as quickly as you can, and then just start spamming utility on them if they are the kind of team that is just going to cower back there. Now, a quick note on rotations on this map, because this is a very big map. As I said, opening the door is going to be very good for you, because it means that this rotate going from kind of one side of A towards kind of the other side just here is going to be nice, right? Like that's going to be handy in terms of someone who is rotating between the two sides just here. This is going to be their quickest, safest route a lot of the time. Someone might be there. Keep an eye on that, but most likely they won't be. Yeah, this is why opening the door is just going to be very good for you as the defenders. Now, Thing is, on this map is you need to, I think, be pretty clear in terms of what your defensive plan is. Because rotations will take such a long time, you need to know, like, and this is why I think having, like, very, you know, kind of entrenched positions, like, we are playing aggressive in shop this round, or, you know, we are playing, you know, aggressive towards B or aggressive towards mid or whatever, is handy, because what that means is, you know, like, okay, we are playing retake on B, or we are playing retake on A, so therefore the person who's playing on that site on their own doesn't just die for nothing, right? Because what will happen quite often on this map is, you know, you'll see this in your ranked games all the time, is that this guy will be playing B on his own, you know, will die in a position like this or whatever, and be like, where is my team? But the thing is, your team has no chance of getting there on this map, right? Because it's so big. So you need to have some clear ideas, because rotations are going to take it some time. You need to have some very clear ideas of, like, you know, am I actually going to be able to hold this site? Because the rotations are going to take a long time, no matter what, right? So just keep that in your mind, that, you know, you've got to be wary of, like, how well can you actually hold this site, right? If you're playing Viper here and you've got an orb and 2 snake bites, yeah, you can probably delay enough to, you know, where rotates can get in. If you're, for instance, playing Harbor here and all you've got is, like, a cascade, that's not going to cut it, right? Like, you're going to have to back off. So just have a very clear plan and understand that, you know, there is no way around, you know, rotations are going to take some time. Okay, one quick last note on defensive ults. I think, you know, most of the ults are, again, just use them whenever you feel like it. For Viper's Pits, though, I do think either of the mains is fine, right? Because it's going to cause the same problem for the attackers, basically, which is you put an ult in A main or B main here, you know, they're both very good Viper's Pits that you can do, and it's gonna force your opponent basically to, you know, if they're coming to this site, oh, you're gonna all 5 come through this way. That's not happening, right? Like, you're not getting through there very easily as a team, and the same is true for mid doors as well. Like, it's gonna be tricky either way. So a pit in either of the mains, I think, is probably a decent idea, and that concludes the defensive side. So that is my Breeze Premier Guide. It's a tricky one because, of course, it's not a map that we've seen in pro play for a very long time. So, you know, the ideas are kind of new and whatever. I think you can get away with a lot in terms of comp-wise. But yeah, this, I think, will give you at least a little baseline of things to be able to use in your game. And hopefully you win.